Hi,
Hi
Rachel.
guys. Hi. So, sorry, first, John, I have to say, your books got me through working in a smoke shop for a summer. Hated that job, but I just sat and read like all of your books when I worked there.
That's phenomenal to hear. I worked at an ice cream store in Moose Pass, Alaska, and Michael Chabon's books got me through that summer. So, if I could do for you what he did for me, I am very grateful.
Yeah, it was like a 18, 19-year-old just like, I'm gonna read all of these books and just like sat there and read all of them.
Amazing.
But I love the way that your stories kind of give these characters a lot to kind of work through at all times. Like if it's The Fault in Our Stars and they're going through cancer, they're still falling in love with each other and going to see authors that they love. Or like in this, she's dealing with anxiety, a dead dad, and a missing person while falling in love and having friends. And I like all of those layers within that story. And so for you, what was it about this story in particular that just like really excited you to see it come to life on screen like your previous work got to?
I wasn't actually excited. I was really nervous. I didn't really want to do it, but the producers who produced my previous movies and who I have a lot of confidence in and really feel close to, they wanted to try. And I didn't feel at all confident that it could be a good movie because it's so interior. It's so much about what's happening in Asa's mind. And it wasn't until Hannah came in and pitched her vision for the movie and brought a little trailer that she'd made so that it was like a 2 minute long video that she'd made, and it really felt like an obsessive thought spiral to me. Like it felt like my thought spirals, and from then on I was like, oh, I guess it is possible for this to be visual and for this to be cinematic because I have a lot of confidence in Hannah's ability to do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And Hannah, it is, so much in her head, but I love that it is a mix of the voiceover and the sounds and like all of the overwhelming qualities kind of put into the movie so you feel it at the same time Asa does. When you're trying to find the balance between that and like, the normal high school storyline or the her talking to a boy, how do you navigate when to kind of really ramp up how we're feeling in her head versus seeing those other characters and understanding them?
I think it started with the script and really pinpointing those moments in the script phase and figuring out when Asa is feeling present versus when she's distracted or more internal. And a lot of the times we would let Daisy guide us because Daisy's the kind of one person in her life that seems to kind of snap her back to the present. So a lot of times we were letting the other characters around her inform that. And it helps that Isabella is incredible and a wonderful actress, and she made it very easy for me editorially to be able to dive into those moments when we needed to. But you hit the nail on the head. One of the things I loved about John's book so much was that it wasn't your typical teen story or high school story. It's not about the popular kids and the nerds or bullying or cliques, or prom or whatever it may be. I think there's a lot more to teenagers than just that, and you opened up a whole new world for it.
Yeah, and I also love, I said this as well, but I love as a card holding member of the Dead Dad Club, I love that that doesn't really define her. And when someone does try and just like make it define her, she's like, I no, that's not the issue. And
Yeah.
I love that because I feel like a lot of the times if something goes wrong, they're like, oh, well, it's because your dad's dead. And you're like, no, thanks for
Right.
that. Is
Yeah,
was
that
that
was really, sorry,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, was that important to like make that distinction within her character that she is not defined by her father's death?
Yeah, there were a few times in the book where it was really important for me that Asa points out to someone that she doesn't have OCD because her dad died,
Mhm.
including to her therapist, that like this didn't like there's not like a X leads to Y phenomenon. As she says, I was very anxious well before my dad died. And I think that's true for a lot of people who go through loss and trauma that like you can, of course, like going through loss is incredibly difficult and transformative and changes your life, but that it doesn't have to be as essentialized as like that's why you're this or that's why you feel that or whatever. We're way more complicated than that, and I wanted Asa to be more complicated than that.
That's why early in the movie we incorporated Asa's OCD while her dad was still alive.
Right.
because I totally agree with you. As someone with pretty extreme anxiety, I feel like it's not logical. You don't always have a conclusion. I think we all crave answers, but it isn't that simple. And sometimes it is how we're wired. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah. And there are aspects of this, right, where we have these narrative conventions, like something happens because something else happened. And that's sort of inherent to storytelling. You know, the next thing that happens because the previous thing happened. But the risk of relying too much on that sort of straightforward narrative is precisely what you said, which is that then you can start to be a real human being who's told that your real human feelings are simply because something else happened. And that's just not the case for us.
I think that's why there's so many stereotypes in movies and TV.
Yeah, it's a shortcut.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for talking with me. Before I leave, I do have to say, John, to this day, I'm 32 now, so it's been over a decade. But to this day, if someone asks me my favorite quote, I always say it's "My thoughts are stars I can't fathom into constellations," because I do think it is one of the most profound and beautiful things that I've ever read. And I was like, it was in a YA novel, and I loved it very, very dearly.
Thanks.
So
I read
thank you.
Starbucks at 86th and Ditch in Indianapolis. I remember writing it because I wrote like 17 versions of it, and then I was like, oh, it's like trying to write this line. It's like I'm having like thoughts that are like stars that I can't. Oh, that's better.
The origin makes it that much sweeter. So thank you so much, and I can't wait for people to get to see the movie. I think it's a really brilliant adaptation.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you.